Perfect.
Hello! Oops, that was too loud. Hold on.
Hello and welcome to the greatest event that you've definitely been listening to for
Yes.
4 episodes?
Episode 4.
This is episode 4? Holy.
Yeah, we found our groove.
Our
And,
president groove.
and also we've released the first episode, and the critics
They love it?
have said, I'll give you an exact quote of what Apartment Dad said.
Uh-huh.
He
can't
listened
wait.
to it, I think, and here's the direct quote. So far, it's nice. Pretty good.
That's such a classic Apartment Dad
Such a
compliment.
dad, yeah, such a dad thing to say. Thanks, Dad. He's proud of us.
Good for him. Good for us.
Yeah. Okay, well, welcome to the episode 4 of My Favorite President.
My
Today,
favorite president.
we are going to be learning about the short little guy named James Madison.
Aw, he was a short king?
Yeah, he was but 100. He was under 100 pounds. It said.
Jesus, that's malnourished.
Well, they were shorter back then, I think. Too.
I guess that's true. And then, like, life expectancies were different and nutrients. They didn't eat their citrus. They got all of scurvy.
Except for John Adams, he was 90, but that was good
Yeah.
for his day. Well, where should we start?
I mean, you're the conch holder, as they say. So,
True.
I mean...
Okay, well, maybe I'll give you the grand the cliff notes of James Madison.
Okay.
So have you ever heard of the Bill of Rights or the amendments to the Constitution?
I've heard those words before. Do I know what they mean? Maybe.
Have you ever heard of the Fifth Amendment or
I've heard of the 5th. I know of the,
pleading the Fifth?
plead the 5th, yeah, where you're like... I guess that's like, I have nothing to say, so I'll say nothing, or I may know something, but I just don't want to, like, no comment, basically.
Incriminate myself?
Yeah.
How many amendments are there? The amendments. I'll just, I don't have them memorized. I know the first one is free speech, freedom of the press.
Thou shalt not walk their boa constrictor down the road at 6 a.m.
True. Yep, that's number 3.
Yep. Very
Commonly misknown amendment.
Yeah. And it's also like the right to bear arms was just that people were allowed to wear
number
tank
2.
tops.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with guns whatsoever.
Yeah. It was a big. James Madison. It's because he was so short, so he liked to work out.
Yeah, he wanted to
Do
show off
push-ups.
his... Yeah, exactly. He just always skipped leg day because he was so short.
Yeah, exactly.
Got him.
We're reinterpreting the Constitution. So what he did was he wrote the first 10.
Oh.
You know, like
It's crazy
nice
that they
number.
got 4 presidents. It's almost like they were kind of like figuring it out as they went. They were like,
Yeah, I know,
we
like
should probably make up some
We should
laws
have
and
rights.
amendments.
Yeah, we should have universal rights.
Whoa.
Well, not universal rights. Whoa. Do you know another thing I was reading? It said during his, I think, administration, it might have not been. I'm just going off memory, but they gave every white man the right to vote, and I thought they already had, but it was only up to a certain point. Like as if you thought women and people who weren't white wasn't enough.
Right.
It was. They also had people who rented weren't allowed to vote.
Got it. So you had to be like an established, like, gentleman.
Property owner. Yeah,
Property
you had
owner
to
to,
own
like-
property.
Right, and which then it's basically like even more of a boys' club where like I'm just gonna invite my friend Bill and Ted who love me. I'm like, well, I guess the voting pool's just my friend Bill and Ted. I wonder who's gonna win.
Yeah. So that's probably why. I wonder, and I still don't know how they voted back then. Like, did they?
I think it was just a classic like put the paper in a ballot box and
And then
have
run
your
it?
secretary Sally count it.
Oh, and then you have to send a letter
Well, I think
and hope that no one dies.
I
on
think
the way.
everyone had to come to this like to Washington to vote.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know if they had. When did the American Mail Service become real? You know what I mean?
Alexander
Like-
Hamilton did that.
Did Alexander Hamilton do that? Because like people would just have
Supposed
like
to.
I guess messengers, but you wouldn't have an established like corporation to like trust Like, someone could kidnap the rider on the
Yeah.
side of the road and take
Switch
the
the votes
ballots.
out.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, Hamilton's president.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's maybe why he invented that. Okay, so he was James Madison, born March 16th, 1751.
Oh, so
he
he was a
a-
Pisces.
Sorry?
I think he means he's a Pisces.
Oh, of course.
His we haven't done the astrological signs of all the presidents, but
Let's see what it tells us about him. Pisces.
2 fish. Well, you said March 16th?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so yeah.
Pisces.
I think it switches
Pisces,
over at 19.
Who are they?
They're a water sign.
All right, personalities of Pisces. Let's see here. 6 traits.
It's like...
Pisces have a big heart and a lot of love to give to the world.
It's true.
Pisces have a way of bringing out the best in others. For Pisces, it's what's on the inside that really counts. Pisces are incredibly intuitive and they follow their instincts.
So, James Madison, correct?
Oh. Get this. Pisces are a total sucker for romance.
Oh, did you get any sense that I just wrote Jason. Uh-oh.
Jason Madison.
Jason Madison. Did he have, like, a love affair? Was he, like, madly in love with his wife?
I was getting a little confused with Jefferson, because Jefferson was the first, we were talking about last week. I jumped into Jefferson's kind of love life. We talked about it last episode.
Mm-hmm.
Because when he moved to France, he brought
his...
Sally, what's her name? Sally something?
I didn't bring up my notes from last week, and I'd love to remember her name, because she deserves to have her name remembered.
I think it's let me check it. But the thing that I found interesting was he was originally married to Martha, what's her face? I can't remember her last name. The other Martha.
Yep.
And Sally Hemings. Sally Hemings was her half-sister, Martha. So
Interesting.
After Martha died, Sally Hemings... Sally Hemings was a quarter black.
Right, so it was her... So, wow, that's like a reality show love triangle of, like, my wife's half-sister, who her father probably also slept with a slave he owned, then bring her over to France because he's sad about his first wife dying, and then ends up just making a bunch of babies with his half-sister's widow.
And the interesting thing about Sally Hemings was in France at the time, slavery was illegal, so she wasn't a slave over there.
Well, she was there, yeah.
Yeah, but then when Jefferson had to move back, she said, "I will only move back with you if you, I think it was when she died, to release her kids from slavery."
Yeah.
Because they're technically his kids, right?
Yeah.
We think.
Well, so. Yeah, I think, because they did DNA testing, too, because they could go back and, like, I guess look at teeth.
What a strange relationship that would be.
So, different time, man.
Yeah. I wonder, I guess we'll never know what all that was.
Unless we invent time travel.
Well, we could do that eventually, just get intel.
Yeah.
We have the resources.
We just need a lot more computing power.
Mm-hmm.
We got nanotechnology.
We'll simulate the world.
Yeah. Now we just got to figure out quantum.
We'll build America and simulate it from scratch.
Whoa.
See what happens.
Whoa.
Okay,
I watched... I watched a Neil deGrasse interview about how they people believing that we're in a simulation. He was like, that's actually really plausible, but there's a 50-50 chance we're in a simulation, because the only way we can prove that we're in a simulation is if we're able to create a simulation that is also able to create a simulation. So we're either the first and haven't done it yet, or we're at the very end and we haven't figured it out yet. So there could be a bunch of like simulations behind us. I don't know if I just explained that properly whatsoever,
no,
but
I think that makes sense. However, right? I will ask, and we probably won't know the answer, but if I make a simulation, is it like, does it have less computational power than the one I'm in? Like, is it like a N64 level quality of?
no, it does. Yeah, it doesn't need to be as. I think it's what your interpretation of like if we were in a simulation, obviously like the world would be rendering around us, right? And it's like we can only see so far, so that's the limiters of our simulation that's allowing us to only see so far. So your simulation that you create could just be a lower res version, but because the beings in that world would only know that, there'd be no difference for them.
Mm-hmm. You know what, I heard a rumor that black holes are computers.
Ooh.
Just a little rumor I heard.
I like that.
And on the outside and the inside is matter. That's the same.
Matter matters, man.
Yep. Matter is all that matters.
Dark matter.
You know who's made of matter? But not too much matter.
James Madison?
That's right.
Yes.
He was a Federalist.
What does that mean?
Oh yeah, I was looking at this. Okay, so when the country started, there was George Washington, and they were like, yeah, how could we possibly not have George? And then I think around John Adams was a Federalist, so I'm assuming at the time of when George Washington was president, they started bickering and fighting about most of it had to do with federal power and then states' rights. So the Democratic Republicans were, which eventually split off, I imagine, into, I think at the time, from the research I did, what's his name? Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican to split off. That's what I found interesting too, was the Republicans, I think, were the ones who freed the slaves.
They were, yes. So I've Googled what is federalism.
I think it's like, it was kind of I think it died out after a while.
Yeah.
But it was like, from my understanding of it, it's like they believe in the strong federal government.
Yeah.
Which James Madison was not. The cool thing I liked about, okay, well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but James Madison started off as believing strong because he was a Virginian and they like states' rights down there,
right?
For many reasons, one of them being slavery. Eventually, I think was the big
Kahuna.
Kahuna, yeah, the big state right that everyone seemed to disagree on, but. He was a Virginian, and then, but the thing that I found interesting was he kind of changed his mind as he got older, and he became more of a believer in strong federal government.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I haven't paid attention to is where all of the presidents have been from. They all just been like from like neighboring states?
A lot of them seem to be from Virginia.
Virginia, right?
So far, yeah. Where Thomas Jefferson? Where is he from?
Because, I mean, I guess it would make sense, right? Because, like, obviously, the majority of America had been, like, built up, right? So it's like everyone migrates to the same
yeah, and also America was like only a third of the size.
Yeah.
Have you read anything about the Louisiana Purchase?
I know. I am an open book and of no knowledge. Tell me everything. So,
while James Madison was Secretary of State for Thomas Jefferson, they bought 1/3 of America for pennies on the dollar. Bottom of the barrel prices for the middle of America.
It's crazy business deals they would have done, and like obviously inflation back then is different. Like the worth of their money is different than our worth now, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
still.
they I think there was a war, and it was like. I want to learn more about Napoleon because he seemed to have. He was kind of going on a tyrant tear at the time that James Madison was president. And it's just like, I don't know, like how did he do, like how did Napoleon, he seemed just to be taking over everything.
Napoleon also, I'm not sure if actually historically correct, but they also called Napoleon a short king as well, similar to James Madison.
Yeah, just a couple of short guys.
Just a bunch of short
acting
running the
around as
world.
tyrants, yeah.
Yeah.
Taking...
I'm looking at the world map, and it's it makes sense that majority of people settled in like obviously Virginia and like New York. It literally is like, now I see to slightly angle it, but it's like a straight line from like France and like the UK. So like people taking
like
ships across the Atlantic,
just
like
follow the sun.
yeah, basically, and you get there.
The one thing I found interesting was a lot of like Florida, and I don't even know who owned the West. Do you know who owned the West of America at the time? Maybe it was.
I just don't think anyone had been there yet. Like I think people no one really
no
like
one had
settled.
colonized it yet.
Yeah, because I know Christopher Columbus tried to go around the world, but he only got so far.
Right. Oh, did he go around from the other end? He was in Spain, right?
He was in Spain, yeah, but
yeah, they bought it from Spain because after a war they were like, here, just have this land that we stole.
That we stole. Yeah, we're gonna sell you this
yeah.
land that we don't actually own.
And we never used.
We just hung out here for like a summer, and we put a flag down, so now it's ours.
Yeah, here, give us money for it. Okay, let's see if I can go more chronological in his. Okay, so he wrote. He was a party leader, and he wrote the Bill of Rights when that was getting started. He founded the Democrat. He did it a lot, to be honest. He was a big writer. Him and Hamilton were two of the biggest writers of documents that I will never read.
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, maybe I guess so. I'll be like, okay, fine, I'll read the Constitution at like episode 20.
We're now in the algorithm of constitutions and charters, so maybe it'll just pop up one day.
Constitutions. So he wrote the Bill of Rights, which was the first 10 amendments. He founded the Democratic Republican Party. So he married a woman named Dolly Payne Todd, who was 26. Good for him. It was a woman of legal age.
That's an amazing
at this
name.
time. Dolly Payne.
Dolly Payne Todd.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like
she's actually
famous.
quite interesting too. She was the first lady. Mm-hmm. So
she was the first lady.
Mm-hmm, like she kind of like took up the
mantle
position of
cool.
So when Thomas Jefferson was president, he obviously his wife was dead, and the woman who he either was forcing to love him or loved him, that we don't know.
We don't know. We gotta time travel and find out.
She was technically a slave.
I'm gonna go with it's probably like a Stockholm syndrome type of situation.
Maybe, yeah. Well, I mean, she can't leave, right?
Exactly.
Well, but the thing I was wondering was like she chose to come back, but it was like only if you make sure our children aren't slaves.
I mean, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah,
in a
that
situation, if she had a newborn child in like a country she didn't know, so it's like either I stay here with nothing, or do I go back to where all my family is back home and like.
Yeah, I guess. Were the kids? How many kids were born at the? The thing is, like, it's just so messed up. Like,
it says that there was at least 6 children, and that she was pregnant while they were in France.
It said that Wikipedia said that he reminded her of his old wife.
Well, yeah, because they were half sisters.
Oh man, it's such a strange relationship.
This is so weird. Man. This random slave reminds me of my wife.
Who's also her half sister.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Dodoy.
But going back to Dolly
Dolly
Payne,
Payne.
she was kind of like the honorary wife of Thomas Jefferson when he was president. Like she would like be by his side and stuff. For I don't know what did they have cameras back then? I
Well, they had paintings.
Yeah, she'd be she'd sit in for the painting.
Yeah, because the camera was definitely invented, but it wasn't as readily available to everybody, and it wasn't
surely
a very
would
good camera.
Oh yeah, surely the president would be worthy of a quick.
That's
pic, do you
true.
think?
It was one of those things where like you had to like sit really, really, really still for like a long time.
Maybe you just didn't have time.
It was invented in 1816,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm not sure when
Oh,
James was president. So that's probably correct.
1860. Oh, maybe he was secretary. So he was president. Oh, he just missed it. I
Just
guess
missed it?
19. No, he just the bleeding edge of technology.
Yeah, so that's why
1817 when he was done.
when you see the portraits of the presidents, right, and you eventually they start to become photographs instead of paintings, and that's like basically going to camera. But that's one of my favorite like camera lore is like that I find so unnerving but fascinating at the same time. Is most of the time they would use camera just to take pictures of dead people, because
Yeah.
like when people would pass away, they'd want to like remember their like family member
They
or
look like
significant
really
other. They'd make them look all nice, and then they would paint on the eyes
Oh, creepy.
on top of the photo, but like not well. So you would just have this like person who was like eerily slumped and like not sitting lifely, and like the picture would come out so good because they weren't like micro moving, and then they would just paint the eyeballs. Oh,
Staring right at the camera.
Ooh.
Do you think like back then they thought like cameras stole your soul or something?
yes,
Probably.
yes, and I do know the first film that ever was shown was a film of a train coming into the station, and people screamed and ran from the theater because they thought that it was
Imagine.
they'd never witnessed
There's a
an image
train.
on a screen. They thought a train was coming
coming
through the
right
wall.
at us.
Yeah, which I mean, if you've never seen it before, like scary movies still scare me, and I know it's not real.
Do you think so? Do they know what they're signing up for when they went in there? They're like, oh, we're going to
I'm
see
sure-
a play.
I'm sure it was like verbally explained to them. It's like we're gonna go watch a moving
Motion
picture. But, like, without context of knowing what it is, you would just be like, all right, Jim, I guess I'll take this free moving picture, ha-ha.
And so it's probably like 12 seconds of footage, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
they're like, wow, all right, everyone file out.
No, everyone screamed and ran
Oh, that's true. They're already gone within 10 seconds.
within 10 seconds.
Wow. That would have been a riot, eh?
It was a riot.
Man. I just can't believe just how like spoiled we are with technology.
Our 4K,
Yeah. No, it's all about 8K now, isn't it?
8K Avatar, James Cameron,
3D,
3D
Have you ever seen
mocap.
what do they call them? 5D? What do they call them? They're like
Nanobot.
I saw Star Wars and there's like this thing that squirted water in my face.
Oh,
And,
right.
what's that called?
Yeah. There's like, well, they have the Atmos, and then there's the like.
So
I know what
dumb.
you're saying. It's
Why-
the
why
like
would-
something 4D.
I gotta clean my glasses every time something water, or maybe I don't wear glasses. Who knows?
If you're ever in Disney World, Animal Kingdom, do not go on the Bugs Life ride then, because that
Oh, it's
is
very
a
wet.
yeah, it is stinky and it's wet and it's painful. It's basically
want
a like Bugs Life experience where you sit in a chair and you watch this like 3D like live action skit with like the characters from A Bug's Life, but then like they simulate like a stink bug comes in, so they like waft stinky smell. Water happens, they splash water, and then in your chair there's like a little piece of plastic that juts out and bashes you in your back to like simulate. I think there's like a stampede that happens. It's the worst. It's not fun.
That's kind of like what watching a train would be like back then.
Yeah. It's the similar
same
experience.
experience.
I also ran screaming. at 17 years old.
And then 100 years, they'll be like, when they first saw the Bugs Life. I don't know why they talk like that in the future, but when they first saw the Bugs Life show, they ran out of the theater.
We lost all records of how we spoke, so we just chose to speak like this now.
Yes.
They had gams up to here.
They had.
Well, so that's why I forget why we got in the tangent of the camera.
Movies? Because we were talking about photos, because we were talking about paintings, because we were talking about Dolly Payne Todd.
Dolly Payne Todd.
And now we're going to deleverage this whole conversation and return to the first lady.
First lady.
So what did she do? She was basically, she declared the role of the first lady. And then, she died also of yellow fever, unfortunately.
Yeah, well.
She was a Quaker, and she had she had to disown her either her family or religion, I can't remember. To marry James Madison.
Yeah, they are not a strict religion, but not a popular one. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say not popular.
I love their oats.
Yeah, Quaker oats. Pretty good.
What else? Okay, so I guess we can talk about his presidency now. He was a strong believer. He was a big believer in not having government power. Like that's why he made all these constitutional amendments about free speech, freedom of the press, right to bear arms and whatnot, right to have a jury in a trial and stuff. Which I think all are bangers. Some maybe the second amendment controversial.
Well, I think that's what I think.
Muscles.
It made sense at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like when it was like kind of a lawless country, and like they didn't really have, like, if you lived out in like the back country, obviously the carriage ride into like a big city would probably be like 4 days.
In the bears.
So like if something attacked you, whether it be a bear or a wolf,
one of those
or even just
pesky British.
Yeah, maybe the British were coming. You know what I mean? Like, that made sense then, right? So I think I get why they made the amendment, but I feel like it just needs it needs amending.
And so it's so ambiguous.
Just to update it, because we're now more than 100 years since it was created. It's like
200 and a half.
I've changed in 5 years personally,
and guns have changed.
And guns, guns are no longer. I'm gonna put a tiny barrel into this gun and take 5 minutes to load it while I shoot one shot that only goes 10 feet. Yeah,
now you can download an automatic weapon on the internet now.
Yeah, you wouldn't download a car, would you?
I'd download a car.
Would you download a car?
Oh, wow. You bet I would. I'd download pretty much anything.
Do you remember that movie commercial?
Yeah.
That would come through. They would play at the beginning of the theater. Yeah. You wouldn't steal a movie, would you?
Maybe.
You wouldn't download a car. Stop internet piracy.
Piracy, stealing.
And then, like, everyone and the kids are like, haha, I'm gonna go download a car now.
Yeah. Boots up LimeWire. Okay, let's see. Adams' presidency. So he was elected as the 4th president. He was Secretary of State during Thomas Jefferson. That was when the Louisiana Purchase happened. And then when he was elected as president in 1808. And you're never gonna believe what happened next.
That's So Raven from the Disney Channel show Time Travels Back in Time.
The pilot of That's So Raven airs.
Yeah.
Close. The War of 1812.
Oh, I was so close.
So, you know what happened? The British got some ideas again about...
The British are coming. The British are coming.
They've
been hanging up in North
Revere?
America.
Is that Paul Revere?
I think so.
Is that the time when he... Paul Revere, I guess so. Maybe.
Who actually said the British are coming? Paul Revere was the American revolutionary, Boston craftsman, and patriot made famous in the William Wordsworth Longfellow's poem, Paul Revere's Ride. Today he is best known as one of the horseback messengers who rode from Boston to Lexington to warn the colonists of the approaching British army.
Was that for 1812? Do you know? Does it say?
It does not say. I would assume so, because there's a painting reference here from 1931. Wait, no, that's way too far in advance. I would assume so, because, like, what else?
Yeah, probably. I mean,
would it
how
be
many
for?
wars were there? 2. So the prelude to the war, it basically, it all started with shipping. And also this is why I was kind of reading about Napoleon, because he was kind of going at it, having his way with the world at the same time. So apparently a lot of the reason for the war must have been because when he died, that's kind of when it wrapped up.
Yes, and so yeah, it was about him. So because he died in 1818.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
Yeah.
The Battle of Waterloo for all the ABBA fans out there. Can we? You have to change the words for copyright reasons.
Potter new. I just bought a pot and it is new. It's the War of 1812. Whoa.
Okay, so the reason why I think James Madison changed his mind so much about a weak, I don't know if he wanted a weak federal government, but just not a strong one. But the reason he kind of changed his mind, I think, was because of this war. Because like John Adams, my current favorite president, he was kind of they accused him at the time of being a despot and like building up a strong military. And so I think Thomas Jefferson kind of winded it back. It's like, why do we need a war? Why do we need a military? We're not at war. But next thing you know, War of 1812.
War of 1812.
So James Madison starts building up a military again. And then a bunch of battles happened. I won't go into the details because I didn't read them.
That's okay. We don't. I was curious to see if you were to walk from the center of Boston, Massachusetts, to the center of Lexington, Massachusetts, it would take you about 4 hours to walk.
That was Paul Revere's walk?
Yes. Well, it sounds like he was on
horse?
horseback, though. It says he was a horseback messenger, so I'm not sure. If you were to bicycle nowadays, it would take you about an hour and 20 minutes.
That's not too bad. That's like
not bad.
I guess a horse is like a bike, right? Maybe.
Yeah, I think a bike speed. Yeah, I think a horse can definitely go faster than a bike.
Mm-hmm. Did the horse know it was an emergency?
That's the thing, right? Maybe the horse had been riding all day and was tired.
Yeah.
Maybe it hadn't had its afternoon apple.
Yeah.
Maybe the local Nelly horse didn't gif at the male horse. Now he's sad, so he wasn't running as fast. Who knows?
Having a bad day.
So somewhere between an hour and 2 hours. Plus, there would have been less streets back then, too, so it would have been more of a direct path as well.
Yeah, true. Poor horse.
That's crazy.
He didn't ask for this.
Yeah, that's right.
Paul Revere. Okay, so yeah, you know what one thing that happened in this war?
A lot of people died.
Yes, but also Canada was the country up north, the country that's above the United States.
Yeah.
They were.
We used to be bigger.
Pardon?
We used to have Michigan.
Who's we?
Oh, the Canadians used to have Michigan. We revealed it last time. We've released too many hints at this point.
The funny thing is like how little like detail like how like little it seemed the Canadians cared about.
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like from what I read, it was like, oh, they can have it, or we don't care. We have to pay taxes to either you or them, so.
Yeah, exactly. We're like, oh.
We just want to play hockey.
Yeah, way back then. We just want to play hockey.
Hey,
I'm going to go down to ye old Tim Hortons, you know.
Man, I just like, and I find it funny because like Canada was kind of being played. Was it called Canada back then?
No. Well, it was Upper and Lower Canada.
What was the upper
So
part?
it was the upper part was just like Northern Ontario.
Right, so it was just like Ontario.
Like it was basically just your like Quebec, Montreal, and so then like
Maybe the
your
main towns.
lower was like our like more metropolitan, and then the upper was basically Upper Quebec and Upper Ontario, which is a bit more of the like the frontier, if you would, the more backwoods where people would go. But they didn't settle into the West until much later, and actually sold bad farms to people. My grandmother, or no, my great great grandmother, her husband made a bad deal, or at least got a bad deal that they like here we bought you this farm in Alberta or Saskatchewan, and you go there and it's like it's not even farmable, like the land doesn't work. So they went all the way out there and then got there for like 2 days, and then my great great grandmother was like screw you and like left her husband there and took all the kids and came back to
Oh,
Ontario.
no. Did they know
Yeah,
there
and
was
then
oil below the ground?
I'm sure, but they didn't have the knowledge or technology then to drill it.
There's
So
just
then
black
she
water
went.
everywhere.
Yeah,
They talk
like
like they do in the future back then.
Yeah, man, she.
What's
I don't
all
got
this?
a drill.
What can this possibly be used for? Can you feed it to a horse?
I don't even have a horse. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Anyways.
So a couple of wars, a couple of battles happened. They burned the White House down,
Yeah.
and then Napoleon dies somewhere, and then James Madison sends a bunch of people to end the war, and they sign some treaty.
Isn't that why they call it the White House? Like, didn't it burn and then they just like painted over the burn marks?
I was kind of looking into it because I was wondering why, but I think there seems to be multiple theories. George Washington's first house was white.
Okay.
So, and people called this is a rumor though, it seems like they called it the White House, and then he's like, "Hey, I live in the White House," and then
And then it just stuck.
yeah, and then next thing you know, they paint it white. I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I think I saw that in a. Excuse me, in a movie, someone or a TV show, someone referenced the White House being painted because it was all burnt.
And
But I don't know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if I don't remember what show because my memory's a goldfish. And two, I don't know if there's any
was it
plausible.
Fairly Odd Parents?
Yeah, that's where I get all my presidential knowledge is from Fairly Odd Parents.
And so they burned down there, and they're like, well, just a quick whitewash coat of paint will fix it, and then
Yeah, I think they have the money to fix it or something, or like,
so
yeah, I
they
don't
did
know.
that.
There's no method to my madness.
That poor government can't fix their house. Post-war, I'm just browsing through Wikipedia here, so I'm just so the war ends, and then there was this. Let's see here. There was the next. So the war ends, right? And then starts the era of good feelings, is what it was called.
Oh.
The era of good feelings.
Good
hey,
feelings.
I'm feeling good.
Na.
So basically, nothing really happened. So that's when I guess they started becoming rich. You know.
Yeah, I
no
think it
war.
also cost the Great Britain a lot to fund
Well, yeah, I imagine. So.
the war, and then like seeing as they all lived here or like lived in that area, and then obviously the UK had to like ship over, like armies, or I guess men. And then it'd be kind of awkward because, like,
And the Canadians
and
don't care.
Canadians don't care, and then it's also, like, you're also, like, battling the people who, like, could be your, like, cousin's friend who, like, immigrated, like, 10 years ago.
Who you just fought, like,
Yeah.
like two decades ago.
Yeah. Crazy.
So the era of good feelings. What happened then? So Madison. So around this time, Madison starts becoming more of a. I don't want to say he's a federalist, but he kind of starts believing in federal government more, and he reinstitutes the national bank to take care of all the money.
All the money.
And
That's the problem we've got now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
The banks are too involved with the government.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. What are your thoughts on banks?
On banks?
Yeah.
I mean, like, it makes sense, but I feel like their connection with the government and credit cards are not good.
And just controlling money itself.
Yeah, money itself, yeah. Well, it's like...
That's why a piece of cheese costs $8.
That's right, yeah. It's just I don't know. I know not enough to have a real opinion upon it, but it is kind of crazy when you've got, like, mystery money where you're like, I have this, I'm going to invest my money so the bank can use it, but I will eventually get that money back in, like, 30 years. But there's no actual guarantee except for this piece of paper that says this bank must pay me back this money. But if that bank implodes,
you don't even get a piece of paper.
Sometimes you don't get a piece of paper, and if that bank implodes, there's no, you're shit out of luck.
Yeah.
Like,
then you get a bank run, and then it's Jimmy Stewart, It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
Were we talking about It's a Wonderful Life? No.
No.
That was someone else. This is irrelevant
Oh
to
my
the
God.
podcast.
Awkward. Deep Throat
Awkward.
just revealed that they have other friends who thought it was me.
Like James Stewart. Let's see here. Your money's in his account and yours is in her house.
So my greatest advice, kids, is keep your money in your walls.
I just realized all the people in the future talk like Jimmy Stewart. They just love him so much. Love his discography.
Maybe he, like, Jimmy Stewart becomes, like, an all-seeing eldritch being who just, like, then and now rules the world, and that's why everyone speaks like that.
Maybe he's frozen like cryogenically
Walt
frozen.
Disney?
Yeah, like Walt Disney.
Did I tell you about my Walt Disney conspiracy?
Yes, but I had to cut it out because of the last podcast because it was like an hour and a half. But we could add a special feature. We could add a...
Wait. Should I re-say it now or no?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. So I'll do a more synoped version, which is basically, so Walt Disney, there's a conspiracy that he's been frozen, he's been cryogenically frozen, and they're keeping him underneath one of the parks, underneath the castle, waiting for technology to catch up so they can bring him back to life. And they were, too many people were Googling Walt Disney Frozen, Walt Disney Frozen. So their show, the movie Frozen, that we all know, came out, and they specifically named it Frozen, so that now when you Google Walt Disney Frozen, you get Elsa and Anna and Olaf.
Singing Let It Go, and then you're like, maybe I should just
telling
forget
the
this whole
world
thing.
To let it go.
Let it go.
Don't look under the castle. Oh yeah, and I think I talked about the Chuck E. Cheese conspiracy too, but that's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't. They probably don't know this, but we talked about conspiracy theories for like 45 minutes.
Hey, so know the title of our podcast? I'm actually going to change it now to My Favorite Conspiracy.
we even like talked about like we talked about the Chuck E. I think that's in the. We left.
Okay. I won't repeat myself, but there's some good ones out there, man. Mm-hmm. Do I believe in them? Not so much.
I believe in the pepperoni thing.
I do. Yeah, I believe Chuck E. Cheese is out to get us with their reusing of pizzas.
Yeah. Cutting costs. Okay, so the next thing is Native American policy, which I don't feel like I know enough to speak of, but it seems like he was being a colonialist.
A colonialist?
Colonizer.
He's
like, hey, colonizer. Your traditions, take up our traditions, you know? Here.
You should just stop doing what you've been doing for centuries.
Yeah.
And just do this instead.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I didn't. It's only a small paragraph here, and I don't feel like I can do it justice. Yeah. However, this was the time of the quoted era of good feelings. and he kind of just was a colonizer for the rest of his presidency.
I wonder what happened in his life that made him like switch.
I think it was the war, just like having
the war?
just having to have a military and organize.
So he was like
go ahead.
I was gonna say like he was like frightened by the like I guess his fellow people dying, that he was just like, well, I guess we'll just make sure that the whole place is colonized.
Mm-hmm. I guess so. Like he I don't know. Like the funny thing about him, the thing I found most funny about him was like in his old age, after he's kind of been converted, he goes back in all his correspondence and starts like changing dates, and like he even changed some of the like things that Thomas Jefferson said to him, and he just became this like this crazy old man who's trying to like change his history, rewrite the past.
So it's like he was like paranoid. Maybe he did something during the war that he was like ashamed of, and like he was trying to like make himself look better.
Maybe. Let's go back. Let's go back in Wikipedia, see what he did.
Yeah. I mean, normally like the presidents and stuff and those leaders would never have been in any sort of battles or anything, but still.
Would they have been? I don't know. Probably.
Like they would have been on like not the front lines. They would have been there.
George Washington was, but like before, I don't know if he was that when he was president.
Yeah.
Madison's health slowly deteriorated, and then he died. He was a slave owner, of course. So I don't know if he beats John Adams. In a way, he kind of turned into John Adams as he.
Maybe he was surrounded by. Maybe he was good at the start, and then he was surrounded by people with those different ideas, and he was just a follower. And
as he got older.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe I think like the war changed him. Like, if you allow me to speak on his behalf, the war changed me.
I have gone back in time and communed with James Madison, and he says the war changed him.
All 100 pounds of him. I can't believe he's under 100 pounds. I'm not going to say how much I weigh, but it's not 100 pounds.
It's 101.
I'm closer. Yeah, I'm closer to 2 James Madisons than James Madison. I'll say that. Man, this guy must have been tiny. 100 pounds?
Yeah, like
that's
100 pounds. Like, yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Is like you don't, as a child, you don't hit puberty until you are 100 pounds. Mm-hmm. Like, your body doesn't start growing, and that's probably why he's so short. He just never, like, got the right nutrients to grow up.
Didn't have the growth hormones in his food.
That's crazy.
I guess that's John Adams, I guess. How are we doing? 50 minutes? Okay,
or James.
Then we can shoot the shit. Talk about
Madison.
Talk about stuff. What we can talk about conspiracy theories.
Fill the void with conspiracy.
Let's make a conspiracy theory right now.
So, okay, well, my conspiracy theory is that James Madison did some sort of horrible... No. Okay, during the war, James Madison actually died.
Oh. That's why he changed.
And the lizard people...
It was John Adams.
The lizard people switched him.
Oh.
Yes, John... Yeah.
John Adams...
John Adams didn't die. He took the body of James Madison.
Yeah,
and shunted his soul, and then like became him, and then like, because he was like.
That's why he never took a photo.
Yes.
John Adams.
We've done it.
Okay, now we just need to seed that conspiracy, let it grow.
So fun fact. Mm-hmm. I have 2. While enjoying a Sunday drive, Madison was once arrested with Thomas Jefferson because carriage riding was illegal on Sundays.
This is true?
This was like my whole, you can't walk your boa constrictor in the streets.
Is this
you just can't ride your carriage.
Is this something you made up?
No, I just read this on kids.nationalgeographic.com.
Oh, look at them. Two troublemakers.
And
what
Madison
are they doing? They're riding a cart on Sunday?
Says they were enjoying a Sunday drive, which to me, if I'm reading between the lines, Thomas Jefferson and James Madison were lovers, and they were making out in a carriage ride on Sunday, and that's why they got arrested.
What a Pisces.
Classic Pisces. Just full of love.
Yeah. How incredibly intuitive.
Lasting legacy. After 8 years in the White House, Madison settled in Montpelier, Virginia. He worked with Jefferson at the University of Virginia, aka it was just Jefferson posing as James Madison.
It's all falling together. Dutch. Hey, we haven't even said each other's names yet.
I said it once when you mistook me for someone
right.
that you spoke about
Right.
something else with. But I can't remember. Again, my goldfish brain strikes again. I don't remember what it was.
Who's the next president? Is that
I think it's the guy with the hair.
the 2 weeks?
Wikipedia. I can spell list of presidents.
Presidents of the United States.
It would be
Names
it's
of people.
James Monroe. Yes, but I am very excited to talk about Andrew Jackson only because I feel like his hair is the best, and I want to know if there's more about him or not.
Oh, and after that is John Quincy Adams, who
Yep.
is John Adams' son.
Oh, we're getting some spoilers.
Yeah.
Spoilers. They actually look similar. That makes sense. They have the same nose.
Yeah, he kind of looks like Paul Giamatti.
Yeah. Paul Gigliotti.
Paul Giamatti.
Yep, so it looks as though the President John Tyler, it becomes a photograph at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's something about William Henry Harrison. He just has a kind face to me, but I'm worried that we're going to find out that he's not a nice person.
Well, yeah, probably not.
Because his...
Which president is a nice person, really? John Adams was alright, I guess.
So far, John Adams is kind of okay.
Like, he didn't do much.
He didn't do much. It's just that his only thing going for him is that he didn't own slaves. That's all that's really going for him so far.
So I guess it says here, John Adams was Federalist, and then there's a bunch of Democratic Republicans for a very long time, and then they must have split off here, and then this is what I'm curious to learn about is what are Whigs?
That's what I think a Whig I think is I thought it was a British term for like if you're a judge, that where they wear those like curly wigs, like they call those like wigs, where like you go for the government, you wear like the big long like judge's coat and like whatever. But that's I believe it's a very British term, but it's interesting that comes into play for like 2 terms and then it comes back.
There's like a big wig renaissance for wig presidents. One of them, John Tyler, it says here, was only half a wig.
Only half a wig. And then he was unaffiliated. He was like, I'm good.
Yeah, I don't want to wear a wig anymore. Mm-hmm. And then it's surprising to me that the last party that wasn't Democratic or Republican was a Whig.
Yeah.
Oh no, Lincoln was a National Union, whatever that is, but he was also Republican. They really bounced around all the place.
And once you get past like Andrew Johnson, then it just goes back and forth, Republican, Democrat.
The pendulum swings back and forth forever. We should make a new party. What do you think? We should bring back the Whigs, whatever they were.
Yeah, let's be the Whigs.
Yeah. But we'll wear wigs. We'll wear 2 wigs.
It doesn't really tell me what it is.
Yeah,
what a wig is. It just says there's a government in the U.S. Yeah, no shit.
Who was the first Whig? This big guy with the big nose, eh?
Yeah.
Well, we'll find out. Whoever's doing William Henry Harrison. William Henry Harrison.
It's a bit of a tongue twister name.
Yeah. I hope I'm just kind of curious which ones I'll have to use. James Madison. You're James Monroe. I'm John Quincy Adams. You're Andrew Jackson. I'm Martin Van Buren.
I'll be doing William Henry.
You're doing Big Nose.
Perfect. Man. I'm actually happy about that because those are my 2 visually ones that I'm like interested in, and not sexually. I swear.
Well, you like big noses and 2 wigs.
I don't know. There's just something about their like. Whoever aesthetic. I think actually, you know what it might be? That might be the same painter that did the portrait. The style looks very similar.
Yeah, it's like a
It could be just that I like that portraitist. That's a very high possibility.
It is like very...
it's very similar.
Yeah, it seems like they might have been embellishing...
I think they exaggerated his nose size. That looks like cartoonish. It's getting Phineas and Ferb levels.
It's like 1/3 of his. Oh no, it's like 1/3 of his face, his nose. I guess.
I mean, he's got a long face.
His head,
that's for sure.
Yeah. Huh. We keep picking on this guy. Maybe he's.
I'm saying
maybe
in a
we
more.
deserve the worst.
He has a very interesting face to me, and not in a bad way, in a good way. Like that's a obscure model face for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like when the mall did Sexy Santa.
Oh, he was a general in the War of 1812. There must have been like just a period of nothingness because like you never hear about any of these people.
Well, I guess.
What happened? What happened between Lincoln and
Well, I feel like
James
your
Madison.
big presidents, they kind of dwarf the other ones when they do a, I don't know, world-saving event. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After the the era of good
Yeah.
times, the era of good feelings.
Yeah,
How long
and then
did
like
that last?
I probably until the the Great
Civil
Depression.
War? Oh. I don't imagine
And
the
also-
Civil War was good.
And
for
also the Civil War. But like when we start getting into like Roosevelt and Truman and Eisenhower and Kennedy, like I start to know those presidents.
yeah. Like I start to know the history.
Yeah. Like I recognize all of these names. Like I've heard them. Where it's like some of these older ones, I'm like,
Yeah. There might be a dry spell this winter while we chug through this lot here. But maybe it won't be. Maybe we'll learn a lot and it'll be interesting, and our podcast will take off.
Just take off. Oh, never mind. Oh, Grover Cleveland was president twice.
Oh really?
Yeah. Or wait. Sorry, it's just out of order. He was just the one that didn't do 2 terms in a row. He did a term,
Right.
and then someone else did a term, and then he came in afterwards,
They
and then that
even
was
use
it.
the same photo.
Yeah, I thought I was losing my mind there for a second.
It's like a Benjamin Harrison sandwich, if you know what I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying. Theodore Roosevelt and William Howard Taft look like the same man, just one's wearing a monocle.
Yeah, and one's
And they
combed his mustache up.
combed his mustache in a direction. That feels like they definitely were like, no one will know.
This is how I This is how I get 4 terms.
I'll just comb my mustache upwards and take off my
They'll
monocle.
never notice.
It's the greatest plan. No one
man.
will ever know. Well,
we
deep
have
throat.
so much to learn. Well, Dutch.
I'll have to say James Madison is not my favorite president, but I think Dolly Payne Todd might be my favorite first lady.
First lady, yeah. She was my favorite first lady.
First
She was
lady.
even like 2 first ladies. She was technically the first lady for
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson too.
I like that she was already doing the work before she got. That's
Yeah.
a classic
Yeah.
tale.
She-
Where she
yeah,
was
maybe-
doing the work already.
Yeah, you dress for the job you want, you know.
Yeah. She was like, hey, I would have loved to be in the room where she was probably like, hey, I'm kind of doing this already. Can I just be
Why
called
don't
the
you
first
elect
lady?
my husband?
Can you guys just like elect my husband? I'm kind of doing this anyways, and like you guys don't want me here as a woman working, so just make my husband a president, and then I'll just like take care of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name's Dolly Payne Todd.
Back then. Like, did they like have like Michelle Obama does like the
Outreach and
she does like Get Fit and stuff. I wonder if they did that too back then.
well, she probably did a lot of writing if she was an intellectual, like where she would would write down like if their bills they wanted passed, they had to like handwrite them.
Mm-hmm.
She probably influenced certain bills and rights.
Do you know? I'll just say this as a teaser, but there was one president that was like, he wasn't like dead, but it was like Weekend at Bernie's, and I don't know who it was, but one of the first lady was basically like being president while he was incapacitated.
Yeah.
Which like she was signing stuff with his hand.
Yep, that makes sense. Because I feel like that happened. That's
was
happened
that?
in history before, and not just in the presidents, but it's like where you don't want to tell the mass public yet that like the leaders passed, because like if there's like a war going on or there's some sort of like strife, you don't want the like general public to freak out.
Yeah.
So you
Our
just
president
delay
isn't
the
dead?
announcement.
Our
It's
president
fine.
is a vegetable.
He's just still. He's just
Look,
meditating.
he's waving at you right now.
Don't look at that string that's obviously connected to his hand.
Everything's fine.
He just has a muscle cramp.
Well, Dutch, it was a pleasure, as always.
Yes, as always. We'll see you next time.